What's going on YouTube? Kronos here, and welcome back to the PSO2 video. So in today's video, we're going to be covering the debacle that is the current SG scratch. But before we jump into that, as always, I'm Krono, do content over here on YouTube covering primarily PSO2, but a few other games on the side. Would much appreciate a subscribe as we work towards that 10K mark by the end of the year. But let's go ahead and jump into this. So if you aren't, well, let me not even get that far ahead into this. Realistically, I don't like to cover this type of content. This is usually kind of drama bait content, a little clickbaity when it comes to content itself. People kind of like to cover this sort of thing when there's an issue. However, in my opinion, this is kind of big enough that warrants realistically just about anyone covering it. That, and a lot of people have asked my opinion about it, not only on stream, but in DMs and things of that sort. And I figured, you know what? It's important as a content creator that we cover these sorts of things, even if it's not the type of content or the type of topic that I really like to cover overall, because in most cases, and in this case specifically, it's overly negative. Drama tends to do really well on YouTube, unfortunately, and controversial topics also. People will like to have their opinions heard and that sort of thing. So usually these sorts of topics are quick to jump to, and I don't like to do that, at least not in my content. But again, I felt like this was important enough that it did require a bit of talking about. So we waited, right? So you know we're not jumping on the drama immediately. So that's what I tell myself, so I feel better. But anyway, if you're not up to date on what the SG scratch currently is and what the issue is, so the SG scratch came out after maintenance on the 3rd. However, the SG scratch actually included the original SG scratch items itself. It wasn't the way we originally thought it was going to be. So what was supposed to happen was, and it was slated and shown as, the original SG scratch ending on 8:02 after maintenance started. Then the next SG scratch is supposed to start up on 8:03 after maintenance completed. What actually happened was the old SG scratch items were just added in, or so the new SG scratch items were added into the old SG scratch, meaning all the stuff from the old SG scratch is still available, along with adding the new SG scratch items into the pool overall. Meaning that the pool just got larger. It got about the size of the average SG scratch, but however, the old and new items are actually a 2-to-1 ratio, which is not great. Now, granted, however we feel about the situation itself, whatever the intention was, the primary problem is the player base was not notified. We were under the assumption, or we were provided the illusion, that the old SG scratch items were going away. This created a level of urgency among the players who like to collect, the players who tend to usually spend money on the game itself to then put in money towards SG. Now, SG is what I like to call a freemium currency. It's a free premium currency. You can get it for free, whether it be through campaigns or through Phantasy Star Online 2, the base game itself. I don't know why I said the entire name out loud, but PSO2 base, through farming methods in the base game. But you can get a hold of it without spending a single dime. However, you can spend money on it, and that's why this is actually kind of a big issue. When you're looking at a situation where something is going to be going away, players who tend to collect will start to spend money on SG to get a hold of the items they're missing. Upwards of 8,000 to 10,000 SG will end up being spent overall. And that's quite a bit of money when you're putting into it. It's like, you know, people are putting 10, 50, $100 into the game itself to get the SG to scratch on these items to get a hold of them before they are quote unquote going away, before the SG scratch ends. This is what usually happened with SG previously in base PSO2, and we were never given any reason to believe this wasn't going to happen again. Realistically, it actually showed it was going to happen again, the same way that they usually showed that information off. Now, the reason this is actually a big issue, now you can have the mindset, a lot of players do, that the SG scratch is a scam. It's a total scam, it's unfair, they're doing this on purpose to cause players to spend more money. Regardless of what we may think the issue was or what we may think is going on here itself, the problem is the player base was never notified. And because the player base was never notified, the intentions don't matter. The intention that, you know, we have free scratches every single day, and realistically, when you have a scratch like this, you couldn't have a free scratch on 2 separate scratches itself. You know, how would we come about this? All these different ideas they may have come together with, they probably were thinking about or talking about. None of these things matter because realistically, the player base was never told, so your intentions don't matter. They're going to have their own mindset behind the intentions, more so like, you know, that SEGA had this idea that they're just going to make money off of the player base by telling them that it's going to be going away, and then afterwards, you know, making it more difficult to get the new items. that's the narrative that players are going to spin in their head, regardless of if it's true or false. And realistically, a lot of players do believe it's true, and I don't blame them. That totally makes sense. A lot of game companies tend to do this nowadays, and it's really hard not to have that, narrative in your head when it's happened to you so many times. Now, this does bring another issue to light. Is this going to be the norm? Is this how they're going to be doing things? And to be honest, I don't think it is. On the JP side, there's already been an article that's released talking about how SEGA is apologizing for, not telling the player base about this ahead of time. They'll be offering, I think it's like 200 SG, which is equivalent of 4 SG scratches overall. Granted, that's not necessarily the answer. I haven't had a chance to review the article myself, but the most important thing is that, I'm sorry, there's two important things. Number one, is this going to continue in the future? Are they going to have these major changes that have to do with situations like this or currencies like this that they're not telling us about? And two, that sorry doesn't mean much if they don't talk about what'll be coming along future. I mean, I guess technically that still goes with one. Realistically, my two is that, is this going to be happening for global as well as JP? Now, I don't care about the 200 SG. I care about what it represents. It's an apology to the Japanese player base who had an outroar against the situation happening. Of course, they have different issues and different laws that go along with their sort of on that side of the world itself with with purchases and of course gambling and things like that. But anyway, there's a difference. I'm not going to talk to because I don't really know it personally. I don't have enough information to really talk about it overall. But there's different rules and things that go along with them. But realistically, this is an issue that affected the entire game. And my concern is that if it only happens for the Japanese player base, that means that we have to be in an uproar about something or SEGA to apologize about a mistake. And I really, really hope that is not the case because we haven't seen an article pop up on the global side. Now, granted, I could just not find the article. Like I've been looking for it personally. I haven't seen anything, and I'm actually gonna go look again just to make sure, even in the middle of this video, that I haven't seen anything pop up. Yeah, I haven't seen anything pop up about the article itself. Nothing in their Twitter. Distributing. Hang on, ARCs. Oh, hold on. I stand corrected. It is here. Okay, here we go. This actually did pop up. ARCs, based on feedback regarding the SG Scratch, will be distributing items to all players. A Astute Braver ticket, so you get one free item out of it, and 200 SG. Okay, that's good. This is popped up. I'm glad I actually recorded this because I didn't see this beforehand, and I didn't actually okay, so this is kind of like a grievance I have with this website, is finding information about this. Tends to be kind of a pain in the butt. We apologize for not providing an announcement for sufficient explanation beforehand regarding SG Scratch ticket items. Usually for SG tickets in PSO2 New Genesis, we will add new items while keeping the ones from the previous tickets, barring some exceptions. Therefore, some of the prizes could be continuously available for several SG Scratches. We also plan on including prizes from the Astute Braver Scratch ticket currently on sale in the lineup. Okay, and going forward, we will announce if there are prizes from the previous SG Scratch tickets included in the upcoming lineup. Okay, so basically they're trying to say that they're going to be more forthwith or more forward with this information, which is good. We'll be giving out items in late August as a token of our apology for not providing sufficient information beforehand. We are very sorry for any inconvenience this may cause. Okay. I mean, this doesn't fix the fact that people didn't know about this and probably spent money on this and thought it was going away, but at least this does mean that they're going to be providing information moving forward. That is something I was very concerned about, and I was also concerned about, the whole process of needing to complain about an issue to have it come up. But now this is basically set up the situation where the player base is going to think that SEGA is trying to get one over on them, which is bad because enough players already think that that's happening not only in this game, but every other game that exists. So it's a bit of a pain. Now, as far as SG is concerned, what I would say is hold off on scratching on the SG Scratch. Maybe wait until next week. The way this reads tells me that it's not always going to be everything from the previous SG Scratch out and the new SG Scratch stuff in. So the pool might get bigger. I would say wait until the pool is, sufficient to what you're looking for the items that you've scratched on already. Let's go ahead and close that. And then scratch on it then. Outside of that, if you really want to protest this entire process, you're against it, just don't spend money on the SG Scratch. You get tons of free SG in the game itself overall. I've had plenty of it overall as well. I've gotten exactly what I wanted out of the SG Scratch. You can definitely get what you're looking for the SG Scratch itself, but I would say just don't open your wallet when it comes to SG. I did want to talk about this really quick here as well, just on the side. A lot of players have, like, again, comes from level of tact, unfortunately, or lack of tact when it comes to Sega. It's a scratch or a survey that ended on the 25th of last month, basically asking about the players spending money, what they're spending money on, why aren't they spending money on certain things, and a lot of players took this as all they care about is us spending money. Well, no, this is a free-to-play game. They need to know why you're spending money on certain things and why you're not spending money on certain things. If I take you back to, like, say, base PSO2, episode 4, where the premium kind of sucked. It didn't have as many bonuses and many benefits on it, so premium didn't really feel worth it for a long time, and they didn't have these sorts of surveys. That's what these surveys are for, because honestly, right now, premium kind of sucks. It doesn't really feel worth it. As much as we'd like to think that games like this survive on charity, because that's honestly what a lot of players think is like, oh, well, if I like a game enough, then I'll spend money on it. Realistically, it's if you like a game enough and if it's worth the money that you're spending. It has to be worth it or you're not going to spend the money. That's all there is to it. Worth it is different with every player, but it has to be worth it, and then you're also going to spend the money. Some players are exceptions, of course, but it's not going to be that way for the game to survive. So these sorts of surveys do need to exist, but not at the expense of surveys that provide feedback about the game. Realistically, we need to have 2 surveys. You want to keep surveys short. So some players are like, oh my god, they only included this one thing in the survey. Yes, because we have short attention spans and we get bored fast. Realistically, they had to include getting 40 SG just to get you to take the survey in the first place. That's how it works. You needed to have some sort of incentive to take the survey, to even get the survey to be done in the first place. But feedback for the game itself needs to also happen as well. So we need to have 2 types of different surveys. This isn't a bad thing, but it can't be alone. So where some people look at this and they're like, oh, all they care about is us spending our money. Realistically, they need to make sure that spending your money is worth it. It's a business. At the end of the day, they have to make sure they make enough money to keep the game going. So you have to make sure that when you're spending money, it's worth the money you're spending. But that's really all I want to talk about. That kind of covers everything. Hopefully this wasn't dragging on too terribly long. I do apologize. I didn't want to make this video too long. But covering these topics are very important. It is very important to the player base as well as Sega to know about this sort of thing. And I'll say it again. If you want to boycott the SG scratch, go for it. But don't get on other people about it because everyone's different. I don't spend a single cent on SG, where you may have spent $200-$300 on SG. So realistically, on your end, you have more of a stake in it than I do. All I say is just don't put any money in SG if you want to really boycott the SG scratch itself. And if you're going to scratch, know what you're getting into. Take a look at the pool, understand what's there. And, moving forward, we may have access to and how things are going to work now that we have seen, the apology. And also make this easier to find on the site. Come on, man. I had to find a tweet to find this. Maybe I just suck at navigating the site. Who knows? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching all the way end. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to keep up with more. We do cover tons of PSO2 content on the channel already. Again, I do apologize for taking all this time to figure out, or not figure out, but release this video. But honestly, I wasn't 100% sure I was going to do it in the first place. Yeah, that's about all I have to say. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Peace out.